Okay, now we're good. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to our September meeting of the San Antonio chapter of the Native Plant Society of Texas. Do we have any new members in the room with us tonight? No. How about any new visitors? Oh, wow, a lot of visitors tonight. Thank you for coming. And of course, we want to welcome our Zoom audience, always appreciative of that, and all of our returning members. And let's see if I can get this out of the way here. Yeah. Okay, that's a little better. So I didn't know what I didn't have a photo for tonight to show on here. I was hoping to show something about birds because we've got a lot of birds migrating through our area right now. And all of these I actually took about an hour ago at home. I was searching through my photos to try to find a good photo. And I looked out and I saw this female. And she's in a Baltimore Oriole and just coming to my little dish of water. And she ended up actually taking a bath and drinking and flew off. But this photo is through the window, so it's not the greatest. And so I went outside to try to get a better photo. And I thought this was her. This bird was over in the beautyberry. And I got a photo thinking it was her, but barely caught her. That turns out that's a yellow-breasted chat, a totally different migratory bird. And then I went over to where I thought she went, and I thought this was the same bird. And I got this kind of not so great photo, and this is a summer tanager female, a totally different bird that was eating a wasp. And then I saw her again. I didn't know what she was at the time, but I knew it was the same bird that I had been looking for. And she was up in the hackberry, I think, eating the fruits of hackberries. Okay. So this is a promotion for little dishes of water, beautyberry, wasp nests, and hackberry. Okay, now y'all might have seen this, the state awards that were just announced. They came out and they're also going to be highlighted at the symposium if you're going to that. But we've got 4 San Antonio awards, and I wanted to just highlight them because they're amazing. And of course, the first one, Jerry Morrissey is receiving the Benny J. Simpson Fellows Award. Hey, Jerry. Awesome. And then y'all might remember these speakers from not that long back. They are receiving the Native Star Award, and it's the Northside ISD Curriculum and Instruction for the Elementary Science Department, Amalia Solers, Kristen Conrad, and Isaac Esquivel. And they are amazing. So I don't think anyone's here tonight, but they deserve a round of applause. And then let's see, I don't think pollinators are in the house tonight either, but they are receiving the Lynn Lowry Memorial Award, which is for horticultural achievement. This is one of our nice native plant partner nurseries. And so many of you know Donald and Melanie Gerber, so congratulations to them. Awesome. And then the 4th award, and I'm sure most everybody in this room knows Judith Green. She's retired recently from Texas Parks and Wildlife Department and just dedicated her so much of her life. This is a Lifetime Achievement Award, the Charles Leonard Weddell Memorial Award, and she's so deserving. She's done so much working with us and everyone else promoting native plants. So yay for Judith as well. Okay, and some of you might have voted recently. This is going to be our new board effective January 2026. So I know our timing is a little weird. We always get mixed up on who's on the board. This board is going to be active January 2026. So until then, it's the same board, but I want to congratulate everyone. Our new president will be Diane Gracia, and she is in the back there. Hello, team. Our vice president, Shannon Jackson. Claire Carter, thank you for returning as our secretary. Thank you for returning as our treasurer. And then our new members at large are Zach Ritchie, who just walked in. And Debbie Simmet, and I'm not sure. She's on Zoom, so awesome, yay. Okay, so January 2026. Okay, and many of you also knew Jack Elder. And Joan did a nice little write-up. I'm gonna pull up and read here. Jack first started his membership in 2009. And he did a lot of volunteer work for the chapter. He really lived and breathed at his own home incorporating native plants, and was just really an inspiration in many ways. Not only how he helped us, but he helped the larger community, and very often helped those that were in most need in our community and in other communities he lived in. But let's see, I'll take my glasses off to read this. So thank you for writing this, Joan. Jack has left us with many memories, and just a few of those are, do you remember when we met at Lions Field? That's where we used to have our in-person meetings. And for the first many years of attending meetings, he rode his bike from his home in Highland Park or took the bus. Do you remember something that happened in June 2012? Jack hosted what we believe to have been the first yard/garden tour for the chapter. He had one of the most handsome inaqua trees in his yard, and thanks to a member, a gorgeous condalia planted on a berm he constructed in his backyard. And that is the photo on the right of Jack with his favorite condalia. Remember when we had our plant sales at Harburger Park on Blanco Road? Jack always volunteered as the sales associate for the native tree category. And there he is on the left, working the tree sales. He has a big sign on the front of his shirt that says, "Ask me." And remember when we would dig plants to pot up for our plant sales from local gardens? Jack was there too. And that's what is shown in that center photo. So visiting Jack always involved a tour of what was growing in his yard, often a potted plant to take home, and a proud report on the minimal amount of water he used for his landscaping, as he had barrels throughout the landscape, capturing water from all surfaces to keep his yard and vegetable garden alive. Consequently, it is believed he was one of SAWS' lowest water use customers. He was very proud of that. And I was fortunate I did get to visit him with Joan at his house, and I did leave with plants, and I did hear about his water conservation and see all his cool stuff. Jack was so much more than this handful of memories. His friendship and promotion of native plants in the landscape, and those who knew and got to visit with him absolutely know that his life was so valuable to making our community whole. So thank you to Jack. Okay. So we have a number of folks who have been leading different efforts for our chapter, who for various reasons cannot do that anymore. And so we really need some help. We've been asking for interested people to kind of talk to us for a while, but we are at a point where we actually really need people to come start helping us. And one of the big ones is in the AV support for our meetings. And so if you can help us with that technical. Oh wait, actually, we have one volunteer, but are we still looking for more? Sorry. We listed this earlier. Are we?
For tech,
yes.
I think we need a team.
A team. Okay, so we do need more. We had someone step up and he was helping us tonight, which is awesome. Thank you very much. But we do need more support. And so one of the outcomes if we don't get more support is that we may not be able to offer this hybrid option and have the Zoom. And we know it is very beneficial for a lot of people who can't come in person for a variety of reasons. So please, if you're even remotely interested in supporting us, just reach out, and if you've got questions, reach out. The other area we need support in is in our programming. And so we're seeking someone to lead that committee. And you will receive a lot of help from others. Very often, our speakers come from When someone has either heard about a good presentation or seen a good presentation that is applicable to our chapter. So a lot of it comes through suggestions, but we do need someone to help us in planning for our speakers into the future. The next one that we need is someone to help us with our welcome table at our monthly meetings. Y'all probably know Romy. She's not able to do it anymore. She always set everything up so nicely, and she did it for many, many years. And so we need someone to do that immediately. If you are interested at all, it's just making sure all of the materials are out, the badges, any educational materials and other things are out and ready to receive the folks that are coming in to our meetings. And then we are also looking for support for the plants by donation, if you're interested in that. And then lastly, if you're interested in helping to lead our demonstration gardens, we have 2 official demonstration gardens. One of them is at Rainbow Gardens on Bandera Road, and the other one is at Pollinatives in Converse. And so this would be getting together volunteers, setting up work days to periodically go out there and weed if that's what's needed, or trim or whatever is needed, just to make sure that they are serving their purpose as nice looking demonstration gardens of our native plants. So please reach out if any of these seem at all interested to nipsotsavolunteers@gmail.com. Thank you. We've got 4th Saturday Nature Walk series coming up this Saturday with Cleve Powell, who is one of our speakers tonight. This is going to be an awesome walk here in the park, meeting at the Urban Ecology Center classroom. That's the small room just around the corner here, and getting there by 8, and then the program is from 8 to 10. We also have the Texas Pollinator BioBlitz coming up October 10th through the 26th. And there's a kickoff event at the Toyota manufacturing site on Friday, October 10th. Yes, but you need a RSVP by October 5th. And it's going to be from 8 to 1. And for more information or to sign up, go to that QR code. And then another event's happening on Sunday, October 12th from 5 to 10 p.m. at Arboretum San Antonio, which is a really great site. If you haven't gone there, I highly recommend it. The address is there, 4226 Southeast Military Drive, and the gates will be opened at 4:30. For more information about that Texas Pollinator BioBlitz event or to sign up, go to this QR code. And I forgot to mention that we have a lot of announcements tonight. So we also have the annual Monarch Butterfly and Pollinator Festival coming up. That's going to be on Saturday, October 18th. And it's always a fun event. We get to educate all kinds of people, lots of people, about native plants, the benefits of native plants, how they support monarchs and pollinators. And it's kids, it's adults, it's people of all ages. And it's always just a really fun time. And so we're looking for a few volunteers if possible for each shift. The first shift is from 9 to 11:30. Second shift is from 11:30 to 2. And that QR code will take you to the sign up. And if you've got questions, you can ask me about it after the meeting tonight or Pam. Yeah.
Where is that located?
Oh, thank you. It's going to be held at Breckenridge Park. So that's been its home for the past 3 years, I think. Yeah, it's a really great location, and it's just a really fun event. And save the date, please. We've posted this before, but it's coming up pretty soon. So it's going to be a sale at Pollinatives Nursery on October 25th. And it's going to benefit the chapter. And as a reminder, we have 2 native plant partner nurseries, Pollinatives, and the Nectar Barn. So if you're looking for really good natives, these are your best options. And then our last announcement here is Jerry. Jerry's going to come up. He's going to be offering, having an event, a 15% off plant order event.
fall historically has been the best time to plant. All the freezes that have occurred here have made it a little more problematic. So my strategy is to plant early. And so I'm already planting. You can plant early, even by just simply well watering your hole, and mulching it. And that means you're going to get a longer period of time to get root growth. So that's why I'm having a stop by my place sale. I have some list of plants I have available. These are like 1s and 2s that were left over, weren't ready to sell for my spring sale. So anyhow, you can pick up a list back there, or you can go to JL Morris at AOL and ask for a list, and of course, some of them are going to run out. A lot of them are 1s and 2s, but some of them are 5s or 10s or something. I live north of 1604 at Encino Park area. If you're going out that area, you can take it back to 20 minutes and go to pollinatives, and stuff. And I'd like to say that I got some plants in Central Botanical Gardens that I'm putting in the ground. So anyhow, the other thing is too, I'm going to go probably early. I'm probably going to go early to the annual event. I know the area really well. I'm going to do an outing on Friday at Chalk Ridge, which is below still hot water. So if you're wanting to come up early and make arrangements, if it's good weather, not raining or whatever, they have a beautiful karst feature where the water is flowing out into the stream and going down. So it's one of my very favorite places in the area. So get a hold of me if you're interested in kind of coming up early, and we'll have a great time. Yeah, the symposium, right? The date of the symposium.
What date is that?
Friday, it was
The 3rd?
October 3rd, right. So the symposium, right. So the people that go in the symposium, even if you aren't want to come up, this might be worth a trip anyhow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, next month, our topic is a new book called Plants with Purpose. And our speaker is author Monica Mackley. And tonight's presentation is, we've got 3 awesome people from SAWS with us, Cleve Powell, Brad Wier, and Juan Soulas. And they're going to be talking about cultivating water savings with native plants, a retrospective of SAWS conservation. And while I transition to their presentation PowerPoint, we've got some door prizes that Haley's going to announce.
I was gonna mention one more thing before I do that.
This is the one. All right, well, let's get started with cultivating water savings. My name's Cleve Powell, and when Joan asked our esteemed Vice President Karen Guz to come and give a presentation tonight, she if you haven't heard, she's going to be retiring at the end of the year, so we're all really sad about that. But she came to us because she couldn't be here and asked if we could give the presentation instead. And so that kind of feeling of disappointment you have right now, you're gonna have to get used to, because it's gonna be us for the foreseeable future, and no more of the great talks that Karen Guz used to give, and probably still will around town, but just not with SAWS anymore. Okay, yeah. And then we're going to be doing kind of a presentation that's, where SAWS has gone with conservation, what we're doing right now, and where we're headed to in the future. With that kind of in mind, that, what Karen has been doing for 20 plus years here in San Antonio. So the early conservation efforts that SAWS was really involved in focused a lot on indoor water use. And this would be back in the 90s and early 2000s. It's really visible water, especially for customers. That's the water they use every day for washing their hands and flushing the toilet and taking showers. And it's actually pretty easy to swap out a lot of fixtures and save a bunch of water, because your daily habits don't have to change. You just get a brand new toilet, and who doesn't like new stuff? And then as a benefit of that too, you get to save water. So that's really what was focused on in the beginning, was switching out these old outdated fixtures. And so I'm swapping them out for things which were more high efficiency. And back in around the early 2010s, SAWS conservation kind of declared victory over indoor water use, because of so many of the toilets had been switched out, and you really couldn't even go to the store and buy one of the old inefficient toilets. So it was kind of, past the point of where SAWS needed to incentivize those kinds of things. And so they were like, oh, we're done. We're going to switch our focus and focus on other things. But with these new meters that we're rolling out across the city, what is old is new again. And so we're kind of focusing back again on a lot of the water savings that were kind of left on the table by switching out fixtures. And that is catching leaks earlier, getting leaks fixed more quickly. We've got a little meter demonstration that we were running at the beginning before the presentation started. And if you want to, you can go over there and check it out. But we can show you how to read the new meters. The cool thing about them is that they'll show you in real time how much water is flowing through them. And then they upload hourly data for the previous day in the early morning hours of every day. So you can actually see your day-to-day water use by logging into either the SAWS WaterSmart or SAWS My Account apps. And so you can get on there and you can see what was happening yesterday, which is pretty cool. And
Who's got one?
oh yeah, does anyone know if they? Yeah, most people should. They're swapping them out and they should be done by the end of the year. So if you're a SAWS customer, you'll have a new one at your house before 2026 is over.
It's better than TV.
It's better, yeah. And you can get on there and you can look and you can really nerd out and be like, oh, hey, I was doing something there. The other cool thing is there's an automated process where if you have a continuous flow for 48 hours, that is basically indicative of a leak. They'll send you a leak alert. You can change that level. Right now it's set automatically at 5 gallons an hour for 48 hours. But if you log into WaterSmart, you can set that leak alert to whatever amount you would like. So if you want to make it less sensitive or more sensitive, you can do that. And it just helps catching those leaks quicker. Because with the old meters, you know after 30 days when you got your really high bill, by that time you're probably already halfway through the next billing cycle. But now within 2 days, you'll know if you have a leak, which is pretty cool.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge. But when SAWS was transitioning out of indoor water use, it was really due to a couple of things that were going on. This is a kind of a cool graph. You can see the years going by, and then the line that bounces up and down is the gallons per capita per day. So the GPCD, and that's just the total amount of water SAWS produced divided by the people. So even though if the population goes up, we might be using more water in total. But if there are more people, then the average amount that each person uses actually goes down over time. So it's a good way to kind of even it out from year to year to compare how we're doing. And you can see at the beginning when we were focused on indoor water use, that trend was going down. And then it kind of flattened out there. And then it started going up and down a lot. And those years were correlated with outdoor water use. So those little orange dots are when it was really hot and dry. And you can see the water use went up. And then in cooler, wetter years, the water use went back down. So, that let the planners at the time know that what was driving water consumption at that time was outdoor water use. And those kinds of ups and downs became, they're hard to plan for as a utility. And so, your revenues are high one year, they're low the next. So that's not a good thing. And then, of course, no one likes a high water bill bouncing around like that. So SAWS conservation really pivoted after that 2011 year. That's the last really high point. And they started really working on outdoor water use and changing people's behavior outside. And then at the bottom here, you can see the different programs that are going. And want to let you know about the consults. You can see they kicked off a little bit before. And then, they started doing things like the e-newsletter and Garden Style, which is our website. And then it was really pushing these outreach efforts to get people interested in outdoor water and how to reduce that. And then you can see it goes down pretty well. And then at the very end, we start ticking back up with this most recent drought. And, it's kind of, it's been going on for a while. That drought back in 2011 and 2012 was severe and acute, and the whole state was covered in drought. So it made a lot of headlines. What we're dealing with now is a more like a protracted drought that's, multi-years long. It's severe, but I put together this cool little slide with an animation from the drought monitor. So if you don't know, there's a federal government agency that puts together drought maps for the whole United States. And I've zoomed in on Texas here. But they do this on a weekly basis, and they kind of give you a snapshot of what the conditions are on the ground. It's a really cool website. And again, this is something you can nerd out on, and you can go back and look like as far back as you want. So I've gone back to July 2019. which is kind of the beginning of this current drought that we're in. And you can see right now, those yellow patches are like abnormally dry, and you start getting into some orange at the bottom. That's when you start getting into bad drought. You'll see some red show up, and then you'll see a kind of a maroon color, and that's the worst stage of drought, like this severe. I think they call it exceptional drought, which is kind of a funny name for it, but that's the worst stage. And so yeah, without that, well, you can see it quickly goes into drought. We get a nice little reprieve, go back into drought. 2021 was a good year. You know, we had normal rains through the summer, but that fall rolls around, we're right back into drought. And you can see now that little dot that's sitting right on top of Bear County in our recharge zone. And it's still red, sitting right on top of our recharge zone right now. Then it comes roaring back in 2025, back to purple. And then now, you know, current conditions, we still have some red, and it's really been particularly unlucky for San Antonio residents, because where our water comes from, a lot of it comes from the Edwards Aquifer, and where our water gets into the Edwards Aquifer is in Medina County, which is, I don't know if I can point.
Yes.
Is this a pointer? So yeah, right there, that's, oh, I can't see it over Zoom, but Medina County is the one that has the little purple dot in the center of Texas. And then Bear County, of course, is the one to the east of it. But so basically all of our water comes from right up there when it comes from the Edwards Aquifer. And you can see over the past 6 years, it's just kind of been sitting there, milling around right on top of where we get our water from. So, yeah.
We're still in stage 3.
H3?
We're still in stage 3.
We're still in stage 3, yeah. So even what's interesting is even back when we were having those more rainy times in 2021, because the aquifer doesn't necessarily track exactly with our rainfall, we were actually still in drought stage 1 back then, and currently we're still in drought stage 3. And this difference between the acute and severe versus the long and protracted drought kind of harkens back to the drought of record, which was the worst drought on record back in the 1950s. And that's the J17 drought, or sorry, not the J17 pump level. And so this is the level, kind of the aquifer that they use to kind of guesstimate the levels here in the San Antonio area. And the red line is back then in the drought of record. And you can see it was a 6-8 year, and then in the 9th year it started to recover. And the blue line is the drought we're currently in. So you can see it's tracking pretty well, unfortunately, along those lines. You can see back in year 2, that was those plentiful years, 2021, where they kind of leveled off. But then, of course, 2022 was a real rough year. 2023 was super hot. This year, I haven't gotten a lot of rain, but at least the temperatures have been a little bit better. But you know, potentially we could be looking at another couple of years of drought if it tracks similar to you know, the drought of record. But you know, the crazy thing about Central Texas is we might get a bunch of rain and that level might pop up, and then we're all talking about how much water we have. Let's hope that happens.
But SAWS has to prepare for the possibility of the drought of record.
Exactly. So we're
That's
always
what
planning
we're
for the
planning.
worst, hoping for the best, planning for the worst. Exactly. But what this really means is, you know, over the past 6 years, it's become pretty hard to garden in Texas. Not only have we had the extreme temperatures, the extreme drought, we've had extreme freezes, right? So we're getting both ends of the spectrum. So the plants that were doing well previously are changing. The other thing in preparation for this talk, I looked up, there's 60,000 new people who have only experienced San Antonio during drought. 60,000 people have moved here since 2020. So that's their normal. And that's just inside the city limits of San Antonio. In the wider area, it's 200,000 people have never experienced San Antonio outside of drought. And me personally, I mean, I bought my home in 2017. And so I basically only ever gardened during this time. So, you know, it's severe. Hopefully things improve. But the good news is we can always learn from what we're experiencing, right? And even though it's tough, there are, you know, native plants, and they have been through it all before. So we're always learning and adapting, just like our native plants have adapted to our personal climate. Yeah. So this is an example of one of our flagship programs for removing grass and replacing with something that's a little more drought tolerant. And so you can see in 2018, that's the suite of plants there on the left that people could get a coupon for. And then in 2025, they're a little bit different. But between those pre-drought and post-drought years, we canceled a few of the plants. This was due to either they're not performing very well due to heat, but also some of those plants that are more tropical that we were suggesting pre Winter Storm Uri got kicked off. And the cool thing is we're always having native plants in mind. We replaced a lot of those plants with that were some of them non-natives with native plants. We're always trying to increase the amount of native plants, right, that are on offer. And one of the ways that we can do that is by promoting them through our coupon program. So you can see, like, we added in chili piquin, which is cute. We added in sedges. People are always looking for shady ground covers, so we pop some of those in there. We increased the goldeneye options, and so that's another thing we can do is we can just offer a suite of plants, so people can choose a bunch of different native plants, whichever one they like. And we added in some bunch grasses, rock rose, kidneywood, which is awesome. That's on the list now. That's super cool. And then for the first time ever, sumacs are available for people to buy on the coupon list. So these are some cool things that we're replacing some non-native things with more native plants that are better adapted to our extremes. If you want to be kept up to date with all the new changes that are going on, and just interesting little tidbits, you can always sign up for our newsletter. I write articles for that. It comes out weekly, and people are always pushing native plants through our newsletter. And then once we update things, you can stay up to date with those updates in the newsletter. But I'm always looking for the next frog fruit. So frog fruit is one of those plants that used to be considered a weed, right? Like it was just like out there in the wild, and it was probably growing in all their nursery plant pots, and they were popping them out, trying to grow their other stuff. But the thing I'm kind of settling on right now is hairy tube tongue, or if you want to have a nicer name, false honeysuckle. But this is a picture that I took from my front yard yesterday, and you can see it's looking great. And it responds really well when we get a little bit of rain. It immediately starts blooming, and then those blooms last for a long time. And that's one of the cool things about native plants, right? Is that other adapted plants might be out in your landscape, but they're not going to respond like a native plant does when it gets a little bit of rain and immediately starts blooming. Whereas like another plant that's been brought in from somewhere else is going to be like, oh, I'll wait and see if this rain continues. But a native plant, they're well adapted. They know that rains are going to come and they're going to go, and they have to make flowers while the rain is falling. So that's one of the cool things about native plants. And so the more of this we can get out in the world, and I wish Donald were here because he needs to start carrying this, or maybe he does already, but this is a really cool plant. I'm trying to promote it any chance I get. So that's why I'm talking about it right now. It's a host plant for all sorts of checkered butterflies. So that's really cool. And that kind of segues into the plants that are currently on the coupon and all of the wildlife benefits they have. So this is just kind of a long list of the random butterflies that I was just writing down as I was looking at the different plants on our list. So you can see there's crescent butterflies, white peacocks, those use the frog fruit. Common buckeye uses snake herb. We have milkweeds for the queens and the monarchs. Ralston's metalwork will use mist flowers, Gregg mist flowers, its host plant. We got yuccas for the yucca moth, and we've got Texan crescent and crimson patch on the planacanthus. A bunch of skippers use grasses as their host plant, and we have a bunch of native grass options for you to choose from. The Turk's cat has a rare skipper that looks just like every other checkered skipper. It's the Turk's white skipper. It's just like a little tiny butterfly that has a checkered pattern on it. But then there's also the Coletta silk moth, which is like the biggest, most beautiful moth that lives around here. And that uses Sinisa as its host plant, and its caterpillars are ginormous. They're really chunky and great. All around beautiful animal. The Southern dogface uses kidneywood, so not only does it smell really great, they have a cute little butterfly that will use it as a host plant. Henry's elfin is on Esperanza. We got the Cleveland sphinx moth, which will use Mexican buckeye. A lot of different hair streaks will use sumacs. Genista broom moth is one of the only things that eats the foliage of mountain laurel. And then of course the Io moth will host on redbud. So you can see there's a whole ton of plants hidden away. And this really just highlights, of course, native plants. You plant a native plant and animals are going to use it because those are the animals that they evolved with, right? So any native plant will have some kind of hidden, interconnectedness with the broader world. Pollinators getting a lot of buzz right now. So this is one way to support butterflies. and moths, but also nectar plants are very important. And a lot of these plants that we have in our coupon are fall and summer bloomers. So those lean times that pollinators face, spring in Texas generally has a profusion of wildflowers. So it's during the summer, during the fall that it's time for the gardeners kind of to step up and ensure that there are flowers to get our pollinators through those lean times. We've got the pollinator fest coming up here in October, so keep WaterSaver plants in mind when you're thinking about saving those pollinators. And then that's a good segue into
Hello, everyone. So I just want to touch on our programs, on this particular program in particular. I manage this program, and over time, so what was the plant that you're promoting now?
great.
Okay, so it starts like that, with identifying the different plants that can be part of this program. And I'm the one who goes out and talks to a lot of the nurseries. Of course, the two nurseries that were mentioned earlier, Pollinatives and Nectar Bar, all natives, right? And by the way, they're a participating vendor in this program, both of them. Our other vendors that participate are Rainbow Gardens on Bandera, Thousand Oaks, the Garden Center, and Bannock. Okay, and what I do is I go out and talk to them. Like last year, I went out and it's like, hey, what can you get? Like we get them, such as this plant, because it's great that we can promote these plants, but you as a consumer, if you can't find them, if the growers are not growing them, you're not going to be able to get them readily anyway, right? So that's part of what I do. And this program, the WaterSaver Landscape Coupon, has been around for a while. It's been very successful. I'm going to totally guess, but we're about at 4 million square feet of grass removal and conversion into landscape beds that are filled with the appropriate plant material. Of course, not all of them natives, but most of them are natives now. And that's something that we have moved this program along over the years. And we're very, very happy. And the good news is that more and more, not just this group, but people in general are asking for natives. So that's a very good thing. And the nurseries are aware, and it's making a difference. Has anyone participated in this program? Oh, great to see so many hands. So the way it works, basically, it's, you identify 200 square feet of grass in your yard that perhaps is not doing very well, particularly now at this point of the year after summer. Well, it's still around, but you identify 200 square feet of grass, you can convert that into a landscape bed using this program. Or you can identify a small landscape bed or a large one, and you can increase it by 200 square feet. So you can bump it out, right? So if you have an established garden, perhaps that's one way you can go about it. If you are a new homeowner, this is a great program for new homeowners. You can use this to get your garden going because, quite frankly, we all know what a new home comes with. It's 2 trees, some shrubs, and call it a day, and some grass. It's 90% grass. And most people who are buying new homes are more concerned about what's the interior, and they don't think of the exterior as much. So hopefully this program will be something that's attractive to them, or again, to the experienced gardener. So for every 200 square feet that you can qualify for a coupon. Right now we're accepting applications. That applications the period ends October 15th. Okay, so this is a great time to plant, as Jerry said. So if you have an area that you want to increase or completely install something new, now's the time to do it. And the application, again, is through October 15th. Once you are qualified for the coupons, you have through October 31st to use at the participating vendors I called out. So it's pretty quick. The other deadline, once you have used the coupon or redeemed the coupon, is to make sure you get them in the ground. And that deadline is November 15th, because you do have to submit an inspection photo as part of this program. So those are the dates. Now, if you feel like, it's too soon, too quick, it does return on March 1st. So what I always tell folks is to use the winter to plan those changes in your landscape. It's not easy. Gardening is not easy. Who thinks it's easy? Not me. I'm going to put down my hand. Not me. Maybe Cleve. Maybe, but let's see, you have to be qualified. I mentioned the dates, I mentioned some of the participating vendors. And then the plants that are included is everything from ground cover to small trees, so you can get very, very creative. While the minimum is 200 square feet for each coupon, you can go a little bit bigger, because if you get those plants that, you know, expand a little bit more, take a little more space, that's fine. You can do 300 if that is appropriate based on the selections you've made. But the minimum must be 200 square feet. You know, SAWS is kind of stuck on 200 square feet when it comes to transformations, because the other program I want to just briefly talk on, it's not about plants, but it's called the outdoor living. And anybody familiar with this program? Okay, good, good. In this version, it's only been around for a few years. It existed before in a coupon form, but this is a rebate. So in order to encourage customers to diversify their landscapes, again, removing grass, it's all about removing grass and convert it to something else. And this else happens to be permeable outdoor living. So it's not about putting in all rock, river rock. That is a choice, but we don't promote that. Okay, this is about creating functional space. It can be anything from a paver, or 200 square feet, or on up, 200 square feet, either paver, flagstone, stepping stones, or you can create construct a deck. It can be out of wood or composite. I was talking to somebody earlier about a wooden deck, and you know, they're great, but they only last for so long. So, and even though composite is very, very expensive, at the very least, this gives you some kind of incentive. Something is better than nothing. So it ranges anywhere from $300 to $1,000. I think I forgot to mention that the coupon is $125 value. Right. I didn't mention it. I mentioned it now. So, you know, these are two great programs to help you make those changes, to remove that grass, that water demanding grass. That really is the source of high water use here. And the other thing that is an important part of these programs, if you happen to have an irrigation system, show of hands, who has an irrigation system? Okay. And you've had a free SAWS irrigation consultation? Shame on you, you should. It's a free service we provide our customers with irrigation systems. Oh, thank you. I just keep talking. It's great. Even so, the importance of this is that if you're going to make changes using our programs, you have to remove existing irrigation in the area that you are making changes in. Okay, so if you get a free irrigation consultation, you might qualify for yet another rebate, because if you are removing whole zones out of your irrigation system, you will qualify for a rebate. But it all starts with that initial consultation that serves as the application as well. That's why it's important. And that's it in person with a licensed irrigator. And you might get lucky and get somebody that is really into gardening. Does anyone know Gail? Yeah. She will talk a lot. I'm surprised she's not here tonight. Maybe she's online. Hi, Gail. Anyway, but I want to make sure that, you know, these are the three programs that, you know, that I think can help the average San Antonian make those changes in their landscape that hopefully not just look pretty, but will lead to some water savings. I'm going to go ahead and transition over to Brad. There you go, Brad.
Thank you, Juan. Oh, well, thank you. And so I'm going to talk a little bit. So SAWS, I'm going to talk a little bit about the tools SAWS offers customers who are working on the programs that Cleve and Juan are talking about. And it's a funny thing. The audience that SAWS really needs to reach are new homeowners buying those new houses out in new subdivisions with grass, a lot of them using irrigation for the first time. I'm not saying they take NIPSOP for granted, but they do use your abilities to sell native plants to these new homeowners who often aren't from San Antonio. All these people are moving to San Antonio, none of them are bringing water, and we're walking up to their brand new house, their brand new sprinkler system and grass, and telling them they need to take it out before it even roots in. So to make that a little easier, programs like the WaterSaver Landscape Coupon has been an invaluable tool. It has evolved over time. And our method of presenting this to customers has evolved over time too, because it turns out that a lot of people have had high bills in San Antonio, especially in the last few years, especially if they're watering grass. But a lot of people aren't setting out to save water in a focused way. There are other things they're trying to do, like build a patio, have a better looking landscape. But we're trying to get them to save water, and we're looking for hooks that will get them interested. Native plants are a hook. Pollinators are a huge hook. And customers who, the surveys we've done with customers, people who have never planted a plant, never put a pot into the ground, all of a sudden want to have a pollinator garden with native plants. So the tools we provide are aiming to help beginner gardeners understand exactly where to place the plants and exactly what plants to use. And so this is an example of how these landscape coupons work. And we do have to spell this out for customers. Yes, you shoot for the fences. Just go in a circle around the backyard. And build flower beds across the fence line, and in the end, you end up with just a tiny little lily pad of grass left in the middle.
And because we have an extra microphone, I'm gonna totally chime in. See that area where you see the pathway with the pavers? That whole area can be converted into a outdoor living. So you can combine our programs as well to make those big changes in your landscape. So that I just wanted to point that out, that that's an opportunity if you choose to do that. Because that's about roughly 200 square feet, which is the minimum that is required to use the outdoor living program. Anyway, I just want to make use of the microphone. Thank you.
Okay. And every now and then we get a new homeowner who wants to remove their sprinkler system and convert the turf to immediately convert the turf to landscaping, and not all of them are from California. I will point out recently in the past year, the Botanical Gardens got on board with this program and helped us design some landscape beds for the new for this program for the WaterSaver Landscape Coupon. But you can actually see the designs in place at the Botanical Gardens in the WaterSaver Community exhibit, where they have 5 little houses with different styles of landscaping. And this is the WaterSaver community. We're trying to teach people through our various channels. I mean, SAWS considers conservation a source of water. So conservation is well funded in San Antonio. So we have a website to teach a teaching tool. But we're having to teach people how to water in new plants. The guidelines that we give people watering for the first 3 weeks, 3 times a week, the next 2 weeks, twice a week, and then once a week after that. Well, the great thing about native plants, a lot of times native plants you can put in the yard, you can skip this entire process. You water it once. I know Drake from Nectar Bar will tell us, water it once and walk away, especially if you're planting milkweeds. But the good thing about native plants generally, they can establish, depending on what you're using, they can establish quicker. And so the water savings is immediate with native plants. And this is an example of what this looks like. And what we're telling people is that the first year, the classic rule of the first year it sleeps, the next year it creeps, and then the next year it leaps, and what this looks like. And so we're having to tell them just to be patient, and that it takes 3 years to go through this process. And it turns out that not a lot of people are going to sign on for a process that takes 3 years. So this can be a hard sell. In which case we have other tools, but that's by the 3rd year. I mean, this isn't fair, because this house, I know this house well because I live in it. But at this point, after 3 years, the landscape beds that I worked so hard to plant, to take out the grass and then convert them to beds and plant, I don't have to worry about the plants growing there anymore. They never need water. It's the buffalo grass turf I installed in the middle that actually takes the most of my time to care for, and that's okay. That's not a diss on buffalo grass. I have a terrible site, but it just proves the rule that that if you want to have turf that looks like that, it always takes extra work in San Antonio. So the bigger the landscape beds, the better. And we always tell people the easy design is just the circle and the square. Just put a lily pad in the center of the front yard. That's where you want your grass, wherever you want your kids and your grass and your dog, and then just build landscape beds all the way around it. The circle and the square. We have, it is one of the pleasures of my job that I have been able to work on the SAWS plant database, which lives on Garden Style SA. Have any of you used it? So, okay, you're familiar with it. This is a fun part of my job, but it has gone through a lot of evolution. In the past few years, we've had to evaluate plants. We inherited plant lists from master gardeners back in 2010. And we've updated those lists over time. And huge updates have occurred to this plant database after the freeze of 2021 and after the big drought. And it no longer made sense for us to recommend some of the things we were recommending. And we also, SAWS learned, there was a dream once upon a time that all the plants in the world would be on the SAWS database. We would just keep adding plants. Which is noble, but we're a small department. And there's a sweet spot. We maintain about 300 to 400 plants on there. But we've learned, I'm just advertising that the list can be filtered for native plants. And more than half the plants on there at this point are native plants. 40% of them are native in South Central Texas, right in this area. But we've changed it out. One of the cool things about this database, the plant DB, or the PDB as Cleve calls it, is that it is very local. There are other great plant databases now. NIPSOT has great plant databases. Haley Gabaldo has one. One of the good things about this database is that with our experience, we are in everyone's backyard all day long. And so we are presenting to customers the plants they're seeing. And we include the bad plants, the plants we don't recommend. So they can see pictures of photinias looking terrible and chlorotic. We include ligustrum not because we're recommending it. I mean, it's splashed with warnings on the page, but just so people know they're familiar with it and with what it does before they go shopping. Because a lot of people are taking their cell phone to the nurseries and arguing with the cashiers about which plants are native, which plants are on the coupon. But this has been a fun task, a fun part of my job. And it includes the local weeds. As Cleve mentioned, we are all looking for the strong fruit. And we all want to be that hero. That it is hard with native plants. One of the challenges for us always, and customers will call us asking, they're looking for plants they can use as ground covers. And I always tell them, if a plant is less than 4 inches tall in Texas, it's going to have a lot of competition. And the ground covers, you can use perennials as ground covers. But if you want something you're going to walk on, that's always the most challenging categories is finding small plants to recommend. And the SAWS coupon actually is tilted towards plants that will expand, big plants. Anyways, that's our category. Evergreen replacements for evergreen shrubs like ligustrum and photinia can be hard with native plants. I mean, it's a different spacing. And so we're all looking for the dream plant. I have really pushed torchwood and narrow-leaf foresteria in recent years, which are near natives. But we always have to be careful. The classic version of the native plant that we cannot recommend, I'm curious what your opinion is, but is Mexican feathergrass. And we joke that if we had Mexican feathergrass on the coupon, that would solve all of our problems. Because it grows, it's native from West Texas. It's not native locally, but it spreads. It's not good for livestock, and it can be difficult to control. And so SAWS doesn't recommend it begrudgingly, but because it acts invasive, and agriculture really doesn't like it. But here are some examples of plants that possible may be future frog fruits. I want to say, Cleve was talking a little bit about the pollinators earlier, and I keep mentioning that. It's one of those things that gets people to yes much more quickly than asking them to just save water, and teaching them how to run their sprinkler system, less. When they're interested in pollinators, they're interested in native plants already. They're collecting them like they're Star Wars action figures. And it really gets people to yes much faster. And luckily in San Antonio now, we have native plant nurseries. I mean, I used to have to drive to Austin and, to Kerrville and the Rio Grande Valley to find native plants or near native, but now we can do it right here. And this is a really good time and it's an exciting time in San Antonio. You can go to HEB and NIPSOD is there selling native plants. So we're grateful for the work you do and excited for what comes next, even if it's more drought. Do you have any questions for us?
Hi, well, hello.
One question from Zoom, but does anyone in the room have a question? And then please repeat it. So that-
Yes, and remind me if I fail to repeat it. Okay. Ooh, did you have a question from Zoom?
Oh, let's go with.
Okay.
Have heard of the HEB sale of native plants, which HEBs?
And so the question was, which HEBs are having the plant sales? And Haley Gamballo is gonna answer for us.
In Texas, and there were 200 HEBs in Texas. There'll be several here in town that are carrying the plants, and they might already start getting them in stock this week. I can't list off, there's too many to list off, and I don't have like the exact locations on me, but hopefully soon the state will announce that and you'll see the list of all stores where you can find them. But for our tabling, Diane, do you remember the two
Yes,
addresses?
on Saturday, it will be at the Petranco at 1604.
So that one will definitely have the plants.
Yes, and then on Sunday, the 12th, it will be at Bandera and 410.
Pretty much every HEB that has a garden element to it will have them.
And that's the 7th, because then October 7th and 8th is going to.
That's when we'll have a table there, because they should start having, I'm sorry, October 11th and 12th is when
Is
we're
the
having
actual
table
sale.
names.
Okay.
But they should have the plants starting within the next week or so.
For those on Zoom, there's gonna be over 200 HEBs in Texas. But the HEB on Petranco and on Bandera on 410 will be 2 of them. Go ahead, hi.
What is your target per household or per person ideally?
Oh, of
GPC.
GPCD?
Gallons per day.
Right now, it's it went up for the first time in years during the drought, and right now I think it's down to 111 GPCD.
Under 100.
And according to Juan, we're trying to get to 100.
Not next year, that would be great, but as we move forward, we're slowly going down, trending down.
A lot of numbers get tossed around. We hear that in Europe, people use 80 GPCD or 50. Americans use more, but 100 would be good. Hi,
Way back there.
way back there.
Hey, thank you guys for the presentation. I'm really curious, maybe a two-question thing. If the goal for SAWS is conservation and looking at saving water, and we understand that grass is one of the culprits, and so you offer these coupons for plants to replace grass, but only 40% of them are native or near native. Why can't we get to sort of our philosophy of 75-25? Because what that's going to do is create an opportunity to save more water in the long term. How do you make decisions about which plants are on the list, and why aren't more natives on the list? Especially when we talk about pollinators.
And please.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So basically the question is, why don't we increase the number of native plants on our program, the landscape coupon in particular? So this program has been around since 2013. And when it was first released, it was about really targeting the new gardener, right? But the other thing that was equally important is accessibility. And when it first started, we did have native plants. It was actually, I think it was roughly just under 50%. But the good news is that nurseries are hearing. So you yourself, wherever you go to buy your plants, and I'm just gonna pick on Rainbow number 3 on Bandera. They're big enough to pick on. But if you have a certain plant that you think would be great for San Antonio, let them know. Just like Cleve has his plant that he really wants to promote and get out there, get people to seek it out. Well, do seek it out. While we can ask for it, if the nurseries cannot find it from their growers, they cannot have it for sale. And there's different sources. I think if you were to talk to pollinators, perhaps they have a different source. I think Rainbow number 3 has a different source. But it all goes back to the growers and what they can get in their inventory.
I want to ask for the plants because the reality is I'm gonna find them, and I will definitely talk to Bandera and Rainbow to suggest the offers. But the question really is, why isn't SAWS looking at opportunities?
We are
to grow that list of 35% of the plants are native. And I understand people want flowers and don't understand it, and they're sort of new to the city or to the Central Texas area. But if you give them money to buy plants that are native and they want pollinator gardens, I don't understand. I understand that stock is an issue, but you should go. So I'm an 80-20 guy, gardener, and I don't have any, and I've used all of my coupons for y'all. So it's just like, why can't we get to a 75-25?
We're trying. And that's not, I mean, I don't know how else to say. So the plants on the coupon are very selective, right? But there are other sources. I know that the San Antonio Botanical Garden, it does have at least 2 sales a year, and they're trying to increase 6. Well, there you go. There you go. And I was going to say, in growing, they're increasing their opportunities to sell plants that you probably won't find elsewhere, to be honest. And I'm going to let you in on something. We are talking to them as far as them being a participant in our program. So that could be another way. That may, if it happens, do not start spreading rumors. So hopefully, maybe by 2026, there might be an additional option. I hope. And you were going to say something.
So the 40% that Brad was talking about is what's on the PDB, but what's on the coupon out of the 40 plants,
50.
out of the 40 plants here, there's only 12. So it is closer to that 75% native plants.
So there's only 12 non-native.
Non-natives, yeah. Sorry, that's one.
We're just making a goal
Yeah.
for SAWS to get to 75.
Yeah, for sure. And like I wish they would do all 100. And this past round, we did take off a lot of like tropical plants and things, and we replaced them with a lot of cool native stuff. So people are telling us that they want more native plants, and we're trying to push the native plants. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
And remember, you're part of the process too, when you go to your nurseries. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So, and some of those 60% of plants have not recommended slapped on them also. It's important to remember that. Go ahead.
Have you grown frog fruit phylla yourself?
Have I grown it? Oh, and propagated it myself? Or in my yard? Oh yeah.
It's a pernicious weed. I spent hours pulling it out.
Ah! You're having better luck with it than I am. Thank you in advance. Oh yes, and the question was whether we had grown frog fruit. Your frog fruit is a pernicious weed.
Yes, spreads massively.
I've seen it.
We're yours too.
It sounds like it doesn't need watering.
Oh, that's Thistles like water.
What's your soil type? It's rocky or clay?
It's one of the alluvial terraces around the Leon Creek north.
Okay.
Why?
So, did you have a question, Bryce? Hi, go ahead.
Yeah, Cleve, I recently visited Indian Lodge in Fort Davis, and they re-landscaped the hotel area, and they used as their bunch grass, Sidon's groundlets. And it's such a beautiful landscape because the plant, it would be nice to have that versus I think it's big problem, because it's gonna do much better than the big problem.
And yeah, the cool thing is a lot of, so the question, the statement question was Bryce went and saw a new landscape where they used Sidon's grama as like a kind of a ground cover and a bunch grass, and it looked really nice. And the cool thing is that plant is now on our coupon starting this year. So a lot of those little squares represent classes of plants. So for example, on the back of the sheet, if you're to pick up one of these, on the back of the sheet, this one in the second row, second from the left, is bromas and blue stems. So that covers all the blue stems, little blue stem, big blue stem, and then all the grommas, which would be Sidon's grama, blue grama. In even buffalo grass is Bouteloua dactyloides. So you could buy buffalo grass if you can find it in a gallon pot somewhere.
Yeah, two questions, like for mine. Is there anything to grow native sod that I could buy for my yard, please? And then the second one is, do you have any demographic or geographic analysis of your programs and where the uptake is around the city?
Sure. Go ahead. take the
Okay.
grass.
So I'll take the grass. So we have two questions. The first is whether SAWS has programs to promote native sod, turf grass. And I'll say that SAWS doesn't have a program to promote any turf grass right now. Although we're interested in it, and some of the turf grasses can be part of the WaterSaver landscape coupon. However, what we'll tell people who are growing turf grass is that they can take out their irrigation, and SAWS will pay, depending on the size of the system, they'll pay for the irrigation because people won't need irrigation for, I mean, when you're watering a new Habiturf or Thunder Turf by seed, it takes about 14 days, maybe 3 weeks, and you don't need to water it again. So the recompense to a customer interested in turf grass would be that they could remove their sprinkler system for big bugs. I hope that helps a little. We tell people the same thing. We also don't have any programs for artificial turf, if that's a consolation. So, but the second question.
Yeah. So for
Zoom question is really fitting for what you just mentioned.
perfect.
If we could give that one. So the person is saying that their small lawn is dead and dirt because of no water or fertilizer. And they're wondering if you suggest a drip irrigation system for their small dead dirt.
We have 2 licensed irrigators here.
So, and can you repeat it so they know that?
Okay, so the question we had from Zoom was it was a small, sounds like a small lawn that's dead from 6 years of drought and no water. Would we recommend an irrigation system, a drip irrigation system? And SAWS never recommends drip irrigation for turf grass. A lot of irrigators don't recommend it either because it's impossible to maintain it. It's buried. When it leaks, the way you know that it's leaking is that you have dead grass again. But we've had SAWS doesn't have any programs for drip irrigation now. We actually had a rebate for it, and we weren't able to demonstrate water savings with drip. Over 15 years of working with it, and so we ended that program. It's still pretty. I would work with a very skilled irrigator if you're doing it. It sounds like a small system, but you can often hand water a small lawn. Okay.
And here's
Did that help?
another follow-up Zoom on the same topic is, can SAWS start funding or convincing growers to grow buffalo grass sod or plugs. All different varieties, so people can start replacing the Bermuda grass patches with buffalo grass. So can SAWS start funding or convincing growers to grow?
I
And let them know that.
Well,
the question was, can SAWS work with growers to encourage them to grow turf grass as sod, buffalo grass as sod, for use as a replacement for Bermuda grass? We have worked with growers a little bit to encourage the right. What we do is we publicize that buffalo grass is a good option. A lot of it's a difficult option to replace Bermuda grass. The skill level, Cleve has a phrase for this, but it requires a very skilled customer to convert Bermuda to buffalo.
yeah, I mean, yes.
So
That's what we thought.
it takes a long time to get rid of
So
Bermuda.
I want to quickly just finish their second question over there, because I do want to make sure everyone, so the landscape coupon, how popular is it? It's actually used throughout San Antonio. It's very popular. We make sure that it's accessible to as many socioeconomic levels as possible. That's one of the reasons we increase it from 100 to 125, because obviously everything's gone up. And so we're very aware of that. We want everyone in our service area to have access to this program. So I just wanted to make sure and get that out there.
And I think the distribution of the landscape coupon is citywide.
Yeah.
It's a really good distribution. A lot of neighborhoods are doing
We
it.
had a question right over there,
So,
in the very back.
We only have time really for about one, but eight.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna take one more question from the back here.
Well, I guess I just was kind of follow up to that initially, but I had my own question, but it was like, are there incentives for developers to not put grass and irrigation?
Oh, gosh.
Builds?
We're trying to crack.
So the question is whether are there incentives for builders to not put grass on new builds? SAWS, and it is actually, it would need to go through the city. What SAWS does is we're beginning on January 1st. We're beginning inspections of all new irrigation installations at new construction. And we do anticipate that requirement may encourage some builders to begin to forego the cost of grass. They'll need to have their system inspected before the account can be turned over to a homeowner. You see my point.
Was mostly, like sometimes when you're driving around town and you see somebody's irrigation and there's like a giant thing, which is like flooding the whole like gutter and everything, is that like some kind of, is there like somebody you should call to like
Yes.
let them know that their water is like all wasted or something? Okay.
So, yes, you can report it on saws.org. What's it's water waste at saws.org.
Okay.
And you can take a picture of it, report it. The question was, where can you report water waste? You can do it on saws.org and just look at the top of the page and it's report water waste. They would love to have a photo and a time and an intersection.
Okay.
Because they're going to contact the owner. Okay. Thank you. Good question.
Thank you guys so much.
But, thank you for having us.
That was awesome. Lots of information. If you're in the room, we've got some plants still at my donation.